Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Never Mind the Buy Box. Good evening, Jamie. Hope you are well.
Just you were talking to me there. I thought you were like, "Good evening, Jamie." And I was like,
no, Jamie Millen in the comments.
I realised that you carried on. I was like, "Oh, so maybe just like something." I don't know.
I know who you are, Luke. I definitely know who you are.
When you're on autopilot.
Yeah, no, I know. Like, focus. Say hello to everyone. Introduce. Guys, let us know in the comments if you can see and hear us okay. You're a bit jumpy, Luke, but I don't know if it's me or you, but there's nothing you can do about it anyway. But let us know that you can see and hear us all okay. I've got to turn my notifications off. Here we go. Hello, Luke. How are you?
I'm just going to plug in the laptop to see if that helps. Okay. Not that plugging in a laptop's going to help, but sometimes when laptops are glitchy.
Yeah, Kevin says hi, all can see you. Hopefully you can hear us as well. We've only got some YouTubers starting with us. Okay, well, I've got my first Facebooker, which is good. Just wait for the notifications to go out. It's not showing. Focus. Absolutely. I don't know. Oh, here we go. I can see it live now. Good evening, Simona. Hi, Sean. Right, we'll just wait for a few more people to jump on. Hello, Paul. How are you? Hope everyone's well. Right, everyone's coming in now. Jed, evening, guys. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight's just going to be a general kind of Amazon sort of discussion, answering questions. So any questions you've got, pop them in the comments. But it's been a few weeks since Luke's
everyone's at the park.
Yeah, who said that? Well, John, yeah, everyone's at the Do you know what? I don't know. Obviously, you're in a completely different country, Luke, of course. But yesterday, we went out and it was the first day that pubs have opened and non-essential shops have opened. And we were walking through one of our local towns because we had some personal errands to run. I promised we weren't going to the pubs. We really weren't. And I was just amazed. It was like Monday lunchtime and the pubs were packed. They were absolutely packed.
I guess a lot of people probably had holiday that they had to take. Didn't have to take, but they're kind of like, I'll take some holiday. Probably took it off some of those days.
I know, but it's not like it's freezing cold outside. I mean, I'm going out with my friends on Saturday night, and
enough beer and
yeah, no, I know, but I'm going out with my friends on Saturday night. We're going to a restaurant and we're having to sit outside, and on Saturday night it's going to be -1 and I'm like, oh my god, I really don't want to go out that much. I want to wait for summer.
Little heaters.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they've got heaters because I think everyone's had to invest, because I think no matter what happens over the next few months, I think that they are, yes, they're saying lifting of all restrictions come June, but already I think just in the tone of Boris Johnson's voice, I can already hear that he feels that there's going to be a little bit of backpedaling on that. Let us know in the comments.
I know what you're talking about, because I've already seen photos on the first day of like, everywhere's like rammed, and it's like, well, it means one thing then. Like in a month's time, everything's. It's like they have to like just give you a little, like a hit. You know what I mean? You had like a drink for a while, and you're like, I just need a drink because stress or something. It builds up. You have to have that release. And
I just think
now people have done it. They can go back in a month for like another 2 months. And,
I kind of agree, and normally I don't want to get into conspiracies because everything we talk about here is obviously related to selling on Amazon. It has knock-on effects, but let me know in the comments, do you think realistically do you think in 2 months time, this is what we're supposedly going to be in the situation in exactly 2 months time, that all restrictions will be lifted and we can be all living our best lives? Because I've got to be honest, I don't at this present point in time, and especially from what the Prime Minister was saying today. And I know that non-essential shops have opened today. And again, let me know in the comments who's been out, who's been RAing. I know Hayden's watching. I know he's been like tearing up the RA shops like crazy. But I just get this impression that Boris Johnson came out and said today, look, the reason why the R rate has dropped. Nothing to do with vaccinations. It's because we've been in lockdown. And it's like, okay, wow. That means we're not coming out of lockdown. Because the other thing as well, if you think about it, they've already extended furlough till September. So the dates are not adding up.
Well, I've accepted basically this year's nothing's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like literally just assumed.
Well, I've literally forgot myself. And an hour before coming on here, I was looking at holidays. I was looking at all this. In my head, I was thinking, okay, world's getting back to normal, but I don't think it's going to. Yeah, I think everyone's, the variants. Let me see who's commenting. So Mike says, depends on new variants. No says we're getting another lockdown. Sean says that. John Stevenson says they want to see how we behaved. Unfortunately, the idiots spoil it for everyone. They do indeed. Aaron says, I agree. He said today that the drop in cases and deaths was the lockdown, not the jam. Absolutely. I just feel, I feel exactly the same, Mike. When will this ever end? I think this year's going to be another write-off.
I kind of said to myself, by next March, that's two stuff. Mm-hmm. Like that's how I literally just slapped it was like January. I was like, a year and a bit, boom. And then I think I've actually booked something for like next October 2022. Like, as in,
really?
And it's a concert for like the weekend in London or something. As in that, so I've clearly gone into that. Like I know that you can get a refund, and it's easy, and there's no like there's an upfront cost for me, but it doesn't matter. But I have gone. You know what? By March, I basically said to my dad, I'll probably come back at Christmas. I think there's a chance to come back at Christmas. That's literally it.
Yeah, I'm
doing a birthday barbecue in January. I'm like, sorry, July. I'm like,
July.
It's like, yeah, lots of people are going to be 30. I'm like, why is that even coming to your lips? I was kind of thinking, like, why is that even? I know he's doing it to maybe make me feel part of the family or something, but I'm like, I'm kind of like 70-30 for Christmas, let alone like, meaning and stuff than it is anything else. I know it's not the same for obviously people in the country interacting, but yeah.
I think the thing is this year, like you said, and it's only really reality is kind of set in, and I completely agree with what John says. Going out today, going out yesterday, really being in the real world. I didn't realize, I mean, it's one of those things, there was loads of stuff at the beaches and things like that. With loads of kids down our way, like gathering in groups of like 100 kids and things like that. So I think in reality, we will head back into some sort of lockdown at some point. The government have already said that come next winter, they'll probably have to put restrictions back in place anyway as well. But it really does depend on the future. Tom says not even the government can determine the future. New variants could pop up left, right and centre. Absolutely. I agree with Hayden. Gyms are open. That's all I care about. Not from like the gym side of things. But for me, on the flip side of it, as long as the schools stay open, for me, I don't really care about everything else, to be perfectly honest. Although I have like 3 concerts booked in June and July. Don't know what's happening with those. Probably not going.
They started doing those drive up in your car here. You drive up in your cars
for a concert.
Yeah.
What, and like listen to it through the radio?
Radio? No, you drive up in your cars, and there's obviously the act is on stage, but you're in your car. Basically, instead of you turning up and getting out, parking and getting out your car, you drive up and park like in a car park, and they obviously have a performance going on like up on the stage.
Yeah, but that's how drive-in movies work. You tune into.
I understand how. But this is obviously like when you're at like a concert, obviously you don't need to have something next to you to listen to it. That's what I'm getting at.
Ah, right, okay, got you. Drive-up concerts. I don't know if I'm down with that. I like to. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be in the mosh pit either, but I like to be in the general kind of area. So yeah, Sean says like a car cinema, something like that. Anyway, we better move on and start talking about some. I mean, it's all relevant and it's all related to Amazon. One of the first things we're going to talk about this evening's expectations for this quarter, which is Q2. Karen says, sounds like the drive-in panto I took my kids to see at Christmas. See, we're always talking about Christmas, definitely. Vladislav says mostly missed travel around the world, and I think lots of people are going to be exactly in that same situation. Let's have a quick look. I missed a question, I think, from Sean at the start, so let's have a look. Yeah, let me go back and find it. I do agree, Sean. I think probably we'll have a good couple of months of freedom, and then we might be going back into some sort of lockdown. But who knows? Like we said, like Tom says, we can't really determine the future. So question for Luke to get started from Sean. As sales slow down, will you be sending more of the same products into FBA, or will you be adding more listings, going for new listings, Sean says?
Well, I looked at my stock. Basically, like I remember, this is how I go off. Like overall, I look at the stock level, like, the amount of stock I've got in Amazon overall. That's kind of like what I do as a rule of thumb. I don't know obviously how much distributed against ASINs and stuff there are, but I know over a period of time it should relate to future sales, or if you kind of get what I'm going at. So like for example, I used to do it in Q4. What did I do last Q4? Well, if I double that stock, should I double my turnover? It was kind of like little basic things like that. But in Q4, if I prepped for Q4, I probably only had 20,000 units. And at the moment, I've got like 17 or 18 plus this, so I'm like, yeah, I could go and spend another, every penny I've got. But I also don't want to force it as well. Because I find that with Amazon, sometimes you can't force it as much as you want. Yes, you could probably find a couple of sales here, a couple there across 100 ASINs or whatever, or you can find ASINs to sell that you can get you some profit, and it's better, but I'm kind of like, I also don't want to have no money, as I'm looking at not just Amazon in terms of like where I want to put my money, and also I don't want to have stuff there for the sake of it. I'd rather be patient as well. So now that I've got that stock 17, 8, the other day it was 17, it could be 18, 19 now. I'm like, you know what, I don't need to push it because everyone wants it now. And that's the same as like, everyone wants to get that profit in 3 months. How do I make $5,000 a month passive income? There's questions within a year or something. It's like, well, sometimes it's not as straightforward as that. Sometimes you got to. I was talking today to a guy, and I was talking to him saying Q1's normally getting my stock back in, building up to that level. So I've now got Q1's finished, and I've got like I had about 16,000. So I was like, right, I want a little bit more, but pretty much on the nose. So I'm back to where I want with the stock levels. Then Q2 comes. And obviously, I reaped a bit of the whole seasonality with the Easter and Valentine's Day and all that, which kind of helped as well. But now now we're kind of past that. I'm more looking to improve like my VAs, my processes, little things like recording all of my expiry products that I recall and totaling them up, and then putting basically just trying to add little tiny. It's simple, but how much have I lost in expired goods every month? And then putting that into my P&L that I make every month. And then what else can I find? What else can I do? And it's basically trying to just, so that all of that, even though that's not really got any value, as in you don't see the profit or the sales, it will have a positive impact later on, because I'll be able to use that information to improve profits or reduce expenses or whatever, which will, it's like a, prolong, it's basically I'm holding off. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the right words. I'm doing that in the background. There's no obviously reward now, but it will happen in the future. But I don't want to also go and chuck another 30 grand in and find that my sales go up a bit, but it's not really. Would I rather have that 30 grand and then as opportunities present itself over the next, what are we now? April, May, June, July, August. Within 5 months, I'm already thinking about Q4. I'm already basically going to be ready for Q4 by the end and we're already in the 4th month of the year. So like I kind of think it's basically it's around the corner. So I don't want to. So I'd rather just have maybe a couple of tick over months just to also assess the market. Now the sales have dropped a little bit. I'm sure everyone's noticed it. Obviously if you're newer, you maybe haven't noticed it as much because you might be going because you wouldn't have utilized or maximized what you could have got. But I think I did like 86 grand last month. 75, those kind of things. And I'm thinking, I could do 60 on a month, but that's not really it is going backwards, but I kind of see it as a, I'm just building towards the periods as well. I'm good at my skill set, I guess, is Q4 for some reason. Or the way I've just strategized the products I sell or something. while also improving the behind the scenes things that I'm doing. Maybe in, for example, I'm doing that warehouse where I've got a staff member. I'm paying them the wage. But last month I looked at the cost, and the cost was 60p a unit. Now, actually, at the other prep center that I was still using, I looked and it's like 42, and I'm like, okay, well, is it actually? And I was talking to Johnny about this, saying, you know what, it's actually probably not efficient to have just one staff member and a unit space, because what you're doing is you're paying for the staff, you're paying for like basically I'm paying like a proportion of the rent and the bills, but obviously a staff member might be 50% of the cost, because I've got to pay, I don't know, $1,000 and a bit for the rent and the sort of usage of the property or whatever, and then $1,000 and a bit for the staff. So that's like 50. Let's just say it's 50%. But if I get another person on board, that's then maybe only an extra 33%. So if you kind of get, because obviously I'm not going to increase the rent. So I've actually started to think, well, maybe it has to be 2 minimum or 0 and do use a prep center. But I wouldn't. But so like I've done over the years, I've tested things, years ago. And yeah, I might be sort of losing money, because if I adjust into that prep center, I would be paying 42p on average. I'm paying 60 now, and I'm paying up front all of the pallet of boxes that I'm buying, all that kind of thing, which is also a hindrance because I'm paying out before waiting to the end of the month. But I find that's good, because then when the real stuff happens, like when you can really make your money and everything like that. So Q4 comes, maybe I'll go, okay, well, I either have just prep center or 2 to 3 staff for Q4, because I know one doesn't work. And I think it's not all about just making profits every month and making sales. Now I kind of see it like I pretty much broke even for Q1, but I spent like 30 grand in expenses. I sent in loads of stock, which obviously hasn't, as in I bumped up the stock which hasn't sold, so my costs are high to get it in, either prep fees or the warehouse and the staff, but the sales haven't shown them, so I'm trying to think of it as a little bit bigger, even looking at next year and that kind of thing, for things. And I find that I always think, try not to always look at like what this month's profit or next month's profit is, as long as there's, I know I'm going on here, but as long as if I saw I was losing 10 grand a month, burning through it, and I wasn't losing it, I was spending it on buying 10 pallets of boxes to get a better discount. Obviously, that was sharp as a loss, because I put it in my expenses as, I don't know, kite packaging or whatever, minus 10 grand. And it was obviously my profit wouldn't cover it or whatever. And it was showing me, for example. But then that actually means I'm making a saving on all the future. So really, I'm actually gaining. If I just bought 2 grand's worth, it looks like I'm making more money in that month. But actually, I'm going to be losing more over another 2-year period, because I've actually had to pay more per box instead of getting. And it's stuff like that I think is important. And also just testing. I might find it's terrible. That idea is terrible, but now I've done it, and maybe and I can play with that. And the more information I can get about things, the more that I can. The way I see it is, the more that I can see, the more I know. Like a good looking woman. Oh, I see her. She's good looking. She's not simple. But if I can't,
where did that analogy come from?
I kind of come out with things as they appear in my mind, and then. But if you can't see them and someone's describing them, sometimes you have no idea. Sometimes you've got to see it. But even if it's not necessarily like a positive thing, it is a positive, because you now know what not to do in the future. But while things aren't going crazy and all that, that's the best time to explore those things, because you're not losing out. And if you're doing that and then trying to do Q4, you'd probably lose 5-10 grand profit, because you're diluting your attention. And so it's about that.
I've got an interesting question for you, and do you know what? Everything you've just spoken about there solidly for the last 5 minutes, I think we could base the rest of tonight's episode on, because so many interesting points that you made there about your business and this business in whole. But a couple of things which I think could be really interesting to discuss a little bit further is a couple of points that you made about Q1 and Q2. Firstly, do you think the balance has shifted between Q1 and Q2? Do you think Q2 is the new Q1, as in everyone used to hate Q1 because sales used to dive, whereas historically, the last 2, possibly 3 years, we've seen much better Q1s than we've previously had a few years before that. So do we think now everybody watching this, let us know in the comments. I'm getting the impression that a lot of people are having a dip in sales for various different reasons. I think we can all agree. Again, let me know in the comments, and it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts, Luke, that we all feel that the demand is still there, but for various different factors as to why sales might have slowed down a little bit. And I don't want to turn this into a price tanking conversation. We all know it's there. We all know it exists, obviously, the elephant in the room. But do you think now, instead of giving the advice, which is exactly what I used to give, that used to say, get through Q4, get all your ducks in the row ready for the rest of the year for Q1. But actually Q1, when you consider that probably Easter falls into it, Valentine's Day, you have the post-Christmas splurge. I'm talking about outside of standard, COVID times, outside of COVID times. Do you think that's actually... do you think that's changed over the last couple of years, and now that Q2 is the new Q1?
Well, my previous Q1s have been terrible. That's the first thing I've done. Like last year, I probably did like 20 grand in 3 months, or 25. It could have been 30. I don't even know. Basically non-existent. Like zero. Might have been zero. And then I don't even, before that it was terrible. It was like 3 grand. Yeah, but because I wasn't aware of thkind of do it as well now, but not to the extent. I always say, clean out your stock for the new year. Is kind of what I say. And
yes,
it's true to an extent, because obviously the stuff that sells like crazy in Q4 might not sell crazy in Q1. Therefore, you don't want to have 300 units of Terry's chocolate orange white chocolate that I did, and now I've got to get rid of it. £4.69 an egg or whatever, and it's like losing me 50p. But obviously that I don't mind that, because overall those things happen. But that's kind of why I did it, because I used to sell toys. So it's like, well, the demand's still there, but it wasn't like if I have 100 Forkies, I think I was left with like 88 in March, and I sold like 12 in 3 months, and I was like, okay, well, I've got 88. It was like little things like that. And so I always and if you've got lots of that, it can cause a cash flow problem. And I used to always say that. But now I'm thinking more like in this December, basically as maybe the 10th a pit comes around, or something like that, I will be sending in stock for January, because a lot of people don't, basically they kind of have a little bit of a break. If you're going to have a break, that's the break time to have it at basically from the 20th. But if I send in a lot of stock for then, the number of sellers could be half, the prices will be higher, and I can have a great January. Then you've got February for Valentine's Day and all that, and Easter, and the products that I sell in Q4 are basically the same. I've definitely noticed it for this year. They're identical. They're not like 20, 30x sales. They're 10 or 15, or whatever it is. But it's still crazy, as in compared to like day to day. And it's like, but I haven't utilized that fully. Easter eggs. This is my second year, and I did 3 times the sales on Easter eggs, but I probably could have done 20 times the sales on Easter eggs. And I think, it's like, but I need to just, and then I in my mind, for the kind of products I sell, from now until the end of August, I'm like, I see no seasonality in me. It's like I'm basically like clueless for season. I've seen videos. People say, "Oh, you're going to start selling your summer seasonal product." I'm like, I haven't got even what plant pots and like as in, but for me, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to focus on what I know. I could start looking and doing it, but I'm like, I don't want to dilute.
Well, I think the thing about
idea, but yeah.
The thing about seasonality, and I think we'll talk about seasonality at some point in the future on Nevermind the Buy Box, because seasonality is, most people don't realize about seasonality until they're in it, and by the time you're in it, it's generally too late. You have to be thinking about it a few months before. And if you remember a couple of weeks ago, without going into any details, Luke, we looked specifically at some seasonal products in Elite Sellers Academy, and I think we were all really surprised at what came up, that we can look at some seasonal products a couple of months, 3 months in advance, that type of thing. So you have to get in early with seasonal products. There's no doubt about that whatsoever, and that applies to everything. Easter eggs, you need to be sending them in January. I say it every single year. I did a video for YouTube last year, which I probably should have mentioned again, even though I filmed it a year ago, or 14 months ago or something like that, it's still really relevant, and it will still be really relevant every year, because when it comes to selling Easter eggs, they appear in the shop after Christmas, and that's when you need to buy them. By the time consumers start thinking about Easter, that is too late for us. On the resale side of things, all the wholesalers will be sold out. If you look at any of the confectionery wholesalers, when it comes to Easter eggs, by the time it gets into February, they are pretty much sold out of everything, apart from maybe like the small eggs and, that type of thing. So you have to think about seasonality a couple of months in advance, definitely. And when you really think about it, there's always certainly a big seasonal event in every quarter. The last quarter is going to have the most seasonal events in it, because of course it includes Christmas, which is an all-round holiday. But that's why, if anyone's tuning in now thinking, oh my God, why are they talking about Q4 in April? It's because, in reality, we have to start thinking about it. And that kind of moves me on to what I want to talk a little bit about tonight, about some of the shortages. I made a post about it yesterday in the Secret Wealth Project, but that was really interesting, Luke. And I think it's really good insight to hear big sellers' thoughts on what's going on in the marketplace at the moment, and looking at the different kind of quarters and how we assess those. But I just want to have a quick look at the comments before we move on. Sean says he's definitely using prep centers for 10.
Open the window quickly while you read them. I'll be back in 1 second.
Oh, where's he going? Luke says he had 46 forkies left over. I feel your pain. Guys, read the data on forkies. I remember being one of the first.
This wasn't even this year. This was last year for those forkies.
Yeah, absolutely. I bought and sold all of my forkies probably the same week that the Toy Story 4 movie came out, and then never bought it again after that. Because Forky will always be that type of character, but he's no Buzz or Woody at the end of the day.
Buzz or Woody, I literally bought 5. I probably didn't even buy enough. 5. It was just so easy. Polybag them, bung them in, and all like the Rex and the Jessie, and the only one that I didn't maximize was the Slinky, because it came out and it was
mad. Yeah.
Like this was the one that came out, like not this Christmas, but the one before. And I saw some Bo Peeps, but her feet used to always fall off or something like that. Like there was a bit of a dodgy thing with it. Well, more than not. But yeah, like those were. I remember just having this is years ago, my bed full with Disney stuff. It was like those little like collectible, like little collectible things, like they little.
The figurines.
Yeah, little tiny figures, and the dolls that were kind of like wooden dolls, but they weren't. They were like kind of something more. And then there was the Tinkerbells that were the big ones.
Yeah,
the big
animals.
Yeah.
You're speaking to. I mean, I'm feeling. I haven't sold a Disney product for like 3 months now, and that is. I mean, the thing about the Toy Story products is that they were always good, and if the price tanked here, there was always a second listing, and even if you couldn't get on that, they used to sell well in Germany, so you were always pretty much covered, for the Toy Story products instead, 100%. Right, comments. Evening, Daniel, who's joining us. Let's have a quick look. So David said made a load of money on Forky when he was first released. Again, I didn't get him in time, selling him for about 24 plus at the time. I think he was
probably £12 or something went down to, or something.
Yeah, Forky would have done. And I think he was retail £14. And if you got him on like one of the 3 for 2s, it went down to like £9 something. Or whatever. And yeah, I remember them when they were up about that time, selling for about 25 quid, something like that. Nothing lasts forever. Luke says the Rex was instant, the Rex was insane, like 60-70%. Actually, it was Bullseye. Bullseye went really rare for a period of time, I think last Christmas, and the price went really, really high on that.
Could only fit like 2 in a box, as in I reused the boxes.
Yeah, they were huge. They were absolutely. You needed like 4 Bullseyes and like 100 tanning products to go in the same box, just to make it work out, definitely. But you know what, at the end of the day, those are those staple kind of products where you can go back and you can look at them, you can see how well they sell, and you can actually predict as to how many to buy, when to buy, you know, what the competition and things like that. Products like that are always going to sell in.
Well, I find the best thing for those is you go back to last year, you find out what your best day was, and you go and pretend, you know, as long as everything's the same, go, okay, how many did I, what's your best day? 50. How many did I buy? 300. Let's buy 900 early, you know, and play like that. Literally just.
Exactly. I know people that invested incredibly heavily in some Disney products that were stopped being made, and they sat on them. And I'm talking, I know someone that bought thousands of one particular Disney product, waited for everyone to sell out, and then cashed in massively. And that's part of what I do on the arbitrage side of things. Is, you know, I tend to sit on products for a period of time, hard to find products, that type of thing, and it works really well if you are inclined with that sort of business model.
It'd be really interesting if I could find a photo of like I actually took a photo of like a bed. I quickly see while you're having what you're saying. I'll see if I can find it. It'd be interesting to share, you know.
Sorry, you just totally broke up and I didn't hear a word of that.
I was going to see if I could find an old photo of when I bought like a massive Disney haul. I know this is some of the.
I've got a few of those. Let's see.
It's one of my photos. It's just a photo. It was like 16,000 in toys. Classic, but they were like so easy to. I'll see if I can find like a picture quickly while you're talking. If not, I won't spend too long on it. But
Erkan says, don't suppliers question you ordering that much at once? Not Disney. They've always been reseller friendly. The only issue that happened with Disney over the last, few months is they started selling on Amazon themselves. So, you know, I wouldn't recommend people go too deep on Disney products. Purely because moving forward, they are going to be selling on Amazon themselves, and they look like they're going to be selling on Amazon themselves. So it's definitely going to be more of a risk. But yeah, I mean, a lot of retailers, it's a mixed bag, really. Sometimes they're reseller friendly, sometimes they aren't. You've just got to roll with the punches at the end of the day. If I'm a firm believer in not trying to get round it, there's plenty more fish in the sea. Don't stress yourself out. If someone doesn't want you to order from them, it's not going to be worth it, and it's just going to cause you so much ag later on. Erkan says, I ordered 200 Cadbury's just before Christmas and had an email asking if I'd made a mistake after 5 minutes. Sold all of them in the week. Absolutely. Christmas is just that absolute goldmine time for us, and it's the period of time that we all look forward to for the year. But you know, we're in April now. Kids go back to school. By the time the kids come off for summer break, that's when we'll definitely start thinking about it and start talking about it more. Tom, are the podcasts uploaded to Spotify? No, they're not. I wouldn't know where to start, to be perfectly honest. It's something maybe we can have a look at. I'll get my Matt to have a look into it.
The only picture I could find, I was just going to quickly show, is remember those Nerf guns? This is probably something that Mark was mentioning at some point, like he loaded up a van or something.
Yeah.
Where they were like
ones with the big round.
Yeah, the Rhino.
Yeah.
Hyperfire, Nerf, Rhino. I'm sure they're like Rhino blasters. Maybe they're just. No, it says Hyperfire. I'm sure on the listing it said like, and they were, you're buying for like between like £8 and £12, selling for like 49.
Definitely have the Hyperfire.
Those are the easy RA days when you can just pop into Tesco's and see 30 of them on the side and just pick up, and then you can go to another. No, I wouldn't take 30.
I remember. I'm
go
pretty
to the next one down the road and crack on. It's like £8 selling for 50. Like, what was the ranking? Like 10,000, 5,000 in toys or something. You've probably even done that. You know, that was the. It wasn't obviously always like that, but that happened periodically, didn't it? There was stuff like that you could just pick up.
Oh yeah, I remember once, and I have told this story before, so apologies for those that have heard it. But we had the Nerf gun sale where I still don't know to this day whether it was a pricing mistake or not. But it was in the Tesco's in our local area, and word got out a little bit that they were selling the ones with the like the big bazooka one, and it was like a 40 or a 50 pound Nerf gun, and Tesco's were selling it for like £10.60 or something like that, and they were selling for close to £100 on Amazon. So you know, I grabbed Matt. I was like, right, we're getting the car, we're going to Tesco's. And the thing was, it showed its true price on the ticket, but when you scanned it, it came up at the £10.60. So we went round Tesco's, we picked up probably 5 or 6 from each of our local Tesco's, and then we went to the biggest Tesco's down in Poole, and we walked in, and I'm not joking, they had them stacked up. We've got a picture of the van sometime, and they must have had about 40 in there, something like that. So I said to Matt, we're having them all. And he was like, there's no way they're going to let us buy those. So we had our trolleys and we were loading us up. And it was so funny because it actually got to the point that people around us were looking at us like, and they were getting really bad FOMO. They didn't know why we were doing what we were doing, but people were coming up to the trolley. They were looking in the trolley and they were like looking at us like, what are you doing? One guy even tried to take what I had out of my trolley. I was like, whoa, what are you doing? That's mine. He was like, because he was so like, what is going on? What is going on? And we got them all and they didn't question us at all. And yeah, we had we've got a picture of the van somewhere. It was absolutely packed with these Nerf guns. That was definitely one of our best RA, hauls ever. But yeah, you got that quite a lot with Nerf guns. I don't know if it's pricing mistakes or whatever, but now that the non-essential shops have opened up, hopefully everyone's going to be in a position that they're going to be able to go out and do that on an RA basis.
Yeah, and I remember there was stuff like when it was, what was it, Staples, when they changed it to like Office Depot, whatever it was called. They closed down and there was so much stuff in there. And then there was like the Asda changed all their entertainment section at one point and they got rid of it or something, and like everything there was like 10% of the original. It wasn't like 20% off. It was like 10. Yeah. But those things.
Everyone always used to say, right, quick, get down to Asda. They're selling Batman Lego sets for 10p. And I used to run down. Well, I didn't run. We used to go down to the Asda's and we never had any luck. I always used to say Bournemouth Asda's, Poole Asda's, absolutely rubbish. Where everyone else was getting.
I used to do RA by where you are. Where is it the Poole one, which is by the water?
Yeah, Poole Asda. That's the best one. That's the best one that you would have got the deals in, but nowhere else.
But yeah, I used to do it around you.
I know, get off my turf. Get off my turf.
I used to do like a massive. Sometimes I'll do like I'll go through like New Forest and I'll go up around the bottom and kind of pop back up and kind of go on that.
Cheeky Luke.
Up and then back down to me.
We don't do any RA anymore, so anyone's welcome. Anyone's more than welcome to come along down to. But like I said, we never get as good RA down here as some of the guys up north do. Definitely, I've always said that there's a north-south divide on the RA side of things. But anyway, moving on, let's talk about some of the stuff that we're actually going to talk about tonight. So a couple of things I wanted to bring up. We've talked about kind of Q2 expectations. I think just carry on, guys, much of the same. Like Luke says, think about instead of, I think sometimes what can happen in the online arbitrage games is that you can get to the point where money's going in the bank and you feel like you should be spending it, like constantly be spending it all the time. But sometimes, as Luke said, it's not the right decision just to spend it on stock. Sometimes it's better to invest your time, bit of investment in looking at other things overall for the bigger picture to see if that's going to work for you. And what was an interesting point that you said is sometimes you spend that time reducing expenditure as opposed to increasing profits. I've always said that that's something you're really, really good at and probably something I should do a lot more.
Well, I do. If the products are there to buy and you're not buying them because you're like, oh, should I hold on to my money? That's probably not right. But like where I've got all my product, well, it's the ones I can get hold of in stock. I'm looking for new products because I always am. I'm always trying to add, but I'm not forcing it if it isn't there to be forced. Like if I'm not selling enough to I'm not going, oh, I have to buy some more because I know it sells well last March or I'm not like, if it's not happening, I'm not going to overstock. And I already kind of overstock a little bit anyway. I have like maybe a couple of 3 months. I have 650 of some products, but it's not like on everything. So I'm already like, well, I can't force that anymore. What, you want 2,000 and stuff, as in, and it's like, yeah, I'm adding to it, but to add like 5,000-6,000 units, that's a good, you know, which is like what, 25% or no, 30% of what I've got. Then that's still a good couple of hundred ASINs probably. So it's like, and obviously that doesn't come overnight. So it's like I'll build up, you know, I'll basically build up to over the next couple of months. Yeah, I might not see any, you know, maybe I'll increase my sales by 5%, but it's not going to really look any different to me. I'll look at it as the same. But I know that looking back in a year, you know, over a year, not only the total turnover is a nice goal. Yeah, that's not profit, but the products that are turning over, that I know what I can do with them is specifically over different parts of the year. So if I'm doing even if I was breaking even for 3 months and doing 250 grand turnover on products, I'd be like, right, what could I do with those products in Q4 or Q3? And like, let's say I can Q4, I can turn that into $1 million, and I know that can bring me income of like 100 or 50 grand or 60 grand for like, I don't know, for a month or December or November or whatever it is. And so I'm kind of like, yeah, it might not actually present itself as an opportunity in Q1, those products, but the potential. And now that I've got some base information from those products, I know roughly what a Q1 is. I can probably extrapolate that data and figure out what a Q4 could be. Obviously, dilute them down into not affected by any seasonality. Some, you know, 10%, 20, obviously, so on and so on, to the point where you know where the ones at the top or your best ones are the ones at 10x. And then you could basically just do projections and go, okay, well, I now know how to play those products over a different period of the year. Because I find that it is important to also know which products do better, not only by month to month, but quarter to quarter. And then obviously like Q4, you know, is where I feel like you can maximize basically all of that comes together and do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight was wholesale rising prices as well, because again, I think on these kind of downtimes when people, when sales slow up a little bit, and I appreciate no one's going to be sat there twiddling their thumbs or anything like that, but now's a really good time to be able to start looking for wholesalers ready for times like Q4 and things like that. And what we're going to be experiencing now, and if you take the opportunity to seek out these opportunities now, is you can find yourself very, very ahead of the game. So I made a post in Secret Wealth Project yesterday about something that's going on worldwide that not a lot of people are really aware of, and it's taking a little bit of time to filter through. Is that we are going to see at some point this year, it's been gradually happening over the last 6 months, and we're only going to start to feel the effects of what this has been happening. We're going to start to feel them for the next 6 months and beyond. Is cost of goods worldwide are going up, you know, hugely over the next 6 to 12 months. There's no doubt about it. It's not conspiracy theories or anything like that whatsoever. But we've been in a state of crises for the last 12 months worldwide. So a lot of what's happened over the last 12 months, combined with a few other factors like Brexit. I mean, actually, Brexit is a really small impact on everything else that's happened. I never thought I'd be saying that 2 years ago. At the end of the day, we thought Brexit was going to be the end of the world in terms of everything with regards to our business. But what's happened is the world resources of consumer goods have essentially been, the world's supply have been ravaged over the last 12 months. We're not buying luxury products. We're not buying cars. We're not buying holidays at the moment. We're not, you know, yes, people have been doing up their houses and things like that and spending that type of money. But essentially, we've all just been buying stuff over the last 2 months because we've not been going out to the cinema, we've not been eating out, we've not been spending time with friends, we've not been going to theme parks, we've not been doing all these things that suck up most people's disposable income. So we've just been buying lots of stuff. And what that's actually done is it's messed up the supply chains around the world. And it's caused particularly places like China to go into free-for-all because all of their resources are being used up. Raw materials are being used up at a quicker rate than they would expect. And when that all gets used up at a much quicker rate, it increases demand, and therefore supply has has the knock-on effect. Supply dries up. So therefore, what happens is the cost of everything has to go up in order to counteract that. And what we've been seeing essentially is things like shipping rates increasing by 4 to 5 times over the last 12 months, very, very gradually. And it's been increasing every single time. So if you spoke to people 6 months ago, they would say, my cost of containers have doubled. Okay. 2 months later, they've trebled. And it's just these prices keep going up because the demand is there, but they can't keep up with supply. So far, it hasn't affected us too much, but because it takes 6 months for that to filter through, and this is starting to filter through right now. We are starting to see the price increase. Perfect example. I wanted to buy some garden furniture last year. So big, bulky like rattan type furniture for my garden. We didn't buy it at the end of last year. And I told Matt we should have done. So if he's watching tonight, I told you so. Now, exactly the same set of furniture, which has been imported from China, that we want to buy this year, that we wanted to buy last year, has gone up by £500. Now you think, oh, okay, well, they're just cashing in on the pandemic. They're cashing in on that. So I was thinking, right, okay, well, I'll go around and have a look at different places. No, they've all gone up by £500 across the board. And you're thinking, okay, well, this isn't a conspiracy because everything's gone up. And it's because of this cost of increasing goods. And not only have they gone up in price, there's much less stock around. So demand's increased and supply's reduced. And what happens is these type of products are imported from China. Yes, we're coming into seasonality. Of course, prices go up and reflect that as well. But we're going to see this happen across the boards for pretty much all imported goods. It's not going to affect products that are manufactured in the UK, of course, but it will affect products that will have some element of reliance of not being manufactured in the UK. So most imported goods we're going to see going across the board for the next 6 to 12 months. I know someone said in the comments earlier on that, okay, well, that's fine. If we go into recession, demand will die down and therefore costs will go down. Yes and no, but they are right. Absolutely. But in my experience, certainly once prices go up, they go up a lot quicker and they come down a hell of a lot slower, if at all. And at the same time, I'm talking about consumer goods here, not luxury goods. So what that means is there will always be a high demand for these type of products. So what we're seeing a lot now is a lot of wholesalers are encouraging people to purchase goods right now. Because they know they're putting their orders in early because they know the cost of shipping keeps going up and up and up and up because of this issue with supply and demand. Not to mention the £1 billion container that got stuck in the Suez Canal, not to mention Brexit, all of these different elements. So when you look at this type of information and you see a deal like Luke's Nerf guns or something like that on the side, what I wanted to do was make everyone aware, if you have the cash flow to be able to buy and put aside and hold on to it for those deals, that is actually going to be a really smart move for some people. So that's what I just wanted to highlight about that. Yes, there is potentially a recession coming, but it doesn't affect the type of goods that the majority of us sell, because we don't sell Range Rovers and holidays to Barbados.
You can sell virtual holidays.
Well, you could do.
Not like you could feel anything, but it'd be a start.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, Luke, you sell pretty much fast-moving consumer goods at the end of the day, so it's probably not going to impact on you too much because you sell a lot of consumable goods as well. So, yes, if you are in that particular business, probably not going to have too much of an impact. But mainly I'm talking about the kind of toys and things like that you see at Christmas. We're probably going to experience some shortages. Yes, it's a bit early to be talking about that at this stage, but we've also got to remember that as the shops open up this week, what's potentially going to happen is most shops for the best part of a year have not had, you know, many people in. So I'd imagine there's going to be some pretty good deals about at the moment for the retailers, but that's not going to last forever. So if you see the good deals at the moment, buy them. That's what I think, even if you've got to buy and sit on them. But of course, I'm not talking about consumer goods or anything with an expiry date. I'm talking about goods that you can sit on and they can appreciate without running out of date.
Yeah, because I guess like a lot of consumer goods, you could have just got from the supermarket anyway. So, and that's been fine. That's, you know, people have just been cracking on with that for a while now. So,
yeah, consumable goods, a majority of the type of products that tend to be on the higher, the faster selling and the lower margin side generally are made in the UK, produced in the UK, factoried in the UK. So a lot of those type of goods won't have an effect at the moment. But if you're buying Heinz beans or something like that, yes, they're made and produced here, but the aluminium in the can probably isn't. That probably comes from China or something like that. So it all
what do you think that might impact, you know, Amazon doing that fair pricing thing, you know, that new fair pricing thing? Because obviously if prices go up and it's all kind of probably delayed, where do they get the information from? You know, they're not going to know, like, it's not, they haven't got a live stream to every price of every product.
Well, do you know what? I actually heard a rumor. I sound like the girl off of Umbrella Academy. I heard a rumor. I actually heard a rumor that Amazon do have a very sophisticated price checking ability in process, that they check 3 retail sites to see which, I don't know which ones, but to check 3 random retail sites to see whether or not you are priced fairly or unfairly. Whereas I don't know if I believe it, because I never believed that they would be checking thousands of products and things like that. But according to this particular source, it is something that they do. They do check sites for the fair pricing. It's random when they target people as well. So they're not just picking on Luke or picking on Natalie or picking on Hayden or someone like that. It's random who they pick, and they will do spot checks, compare you against 3 retail sites. And if you are nowhere near or within a certain percentage, I don't know what the percentage is, they will slap you with a fair price warning policy violation.
Yeah, I mean, I admire my toast chocolate orange, my white toast chocolate orange, and it was already like $4.99. And it was like, how low do you want me to go? Like, I'm already losing money on it. God damn it!
Oh my god, you've got a real.
I was like, I can't sell them anyway. I was like, I just basically get.
Who doesn't want white chocolate orange? I mean, that's.
It was because it was too low. I was like, oh, they don't expire to 2022. I'll keep them. And I was like, that's why I asked you about the storage fees. I was like, well, if it cost me £9 a month. And I wait till next Q4, like 9p, and obviously that's from January, so that's like potentially 11 months of 9p's.
Yeah, but not that they'll melt in the summer, and then by the time.
Yeah, so then I've got to take a flip of a coin if it's going to be melted or not over summer, because not everything does somehow, but you know, or 30% of the stock or 20%. I've got to also take that and then have negative feedbacks or something. It was just more that as well. And I was like. And then when I got this fair pricing thing, I was like, all right, we're getting rid of it. I was just like, crash the price even more. And that's another reason I did a video saying why I crashed the price. It's like that's the price. Not that that's exactly what I said in the video, because it's not, but it's a newer thing. But it's exactly, you know, that's the exact reason why I would I could put £3, lose £1, but at least I get back, I don't know, whatever. I'll lose £1, sell it for £3, get like, I don't know, £1 back or something after fees or something. But that's better than having 0. It's kind of like what I was going at. And also having that fair pricing thing. It's all gone now. Like, you can just amend the price and it goes. But I only had it on a couple. But I have started paying attention to that pricing health more now. Like, I want to look into it a bit more, because it gives you a list of all your suppressed listings. Most of them are single packs. So, and I've started to come to the thought that I'm not really sourcing any new products that are just singles. I might do if they're like a bit more luxury single, you know, like maybe if there's a tin of
You are more likely. I'm not saying
like 12, 15, 12, 13, 14, you know, like a luxury box of chocolate biscuits that you have at Christmas or something. And maybe I'll do that, but not like a jar of Marmite, which I used to sell. I wouldn't just go and sell one jar of Marmite anymore.
No, you're more likely to get picked up for pricing on a single unit than you are a bundle or a multi-pack. It's not impossible to get picked up on fair pricing for a bundle or a multi-pack, and it's even less likely to get picked up on one that you create yourself. And
if you add like a little extra thing to it, there's no way to do it, is there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. If you add something unique to it, even less likely. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen quite recently. It does happen, but you just got to play around with the price a little bit just to see what Amazon, Amazon wants. So how can they determine, how you value an item as being unique or whatever? So that's important to look at. But one thing I did want to add on as extra comment to that, which I want everyone to be aware of, because we talk about price tanking, you mentioned it there yourself, and you've price tanked a product for a really good reason. Now, please don't hate on me, guys, for this, saying you've price tanked a product for a really good reason. Not all price tanking is bad. We know that sometimes it can help. Yes, overall, I've heard all the arguments on price tanking. I still think it's better to maintain the price and sell at a higher profit. Of course, that's my thoughts on that. And I know there are lots of people that have different opinions on that. But what I want to make people aware of at the moment is those meltable goods. We're going to be coming into the meltable periods now. So generally kicks off around the 15th of May and goes right until September, where Amazon will restrict the amount of meltable goods that can be held in the Amazon warehouses. Now, this is not Amazon terms of service. It's a advisement from Amazon not to send in goods. Well, they tell you not to send in goods, but like I said, it's not part of Amazon terms of service. So you're not going to get in trouble in terms of account suspensions if you send chocolates in. But what does happen, please don't underestimate it. I know, Luke, you're quite happy to take the hit on a few melted
I had like 15 negative feedbacks last summer.
Exactly.
And actually that ended up doing nothing. Like, it was more annoying than anything. But like, I see people say, "Oh, I've had negative feedback," and they're like, "Does it?" And I'm like, "Mate, I had 15 in the summer, but I also have 450 positives."
Exactly. That's the point I want to make, is that sometimes, and with the greatest of respect, Luke, because it's not just you, I see other people doing it as well. What can happen is, if you say it's okay, if someone else says it's okay to sell meltables, everyone takes that as it's okay to sell meltables. But it's okay for you to sell meltables because you sell really high volume products.
You don't want to get an all defect rate over 1% from doing that. That's what it would cause.
Exactly. So what will happen if someone's only selling 30 items a month and those 30 items are meltable chocolate, then they could actually be in a position where they could get in real bad trouble for order defects. They could get in trouble for, having lots of negative feedbacks being left in their account. So that's why I say I do predominantly observe the rules. Don't get me wrong. I know Simon said it started this year from the 16th of April, which is actually a month earlier. I haven't seen that notification myself. Normally it's about the 15th of May. Not doubting you, by the way, Simon. I've just not seen it myself as yet. But what I will say to people is, remember, this year, Amazon are the strictest I have ever seen them being over anything. So when it comes to Amazon not saying to do something, don't do it. And what's going to happen is we're going to see lots of sellers who have high levels of confectionery and things like that in stock that melt. And we're going to see people getting rid of their stock because they don't want the meltable products to melt over the meltable period. Now, so don't be surprised if you see lots of price tanking going on in the next month or so, month to 6 weeks on these type of products. It's probably going to be sellers dumping their stock. So at the same time, I wouldn't advise people go and, buy lots of confectionery products to send in past about, the middle of May to the end of June. Now, I still send confectionery products in, certainly up until about June, but it really does depend on the weather. At the moment, it's freezing. So I'm quite happy to send them in. If we have a late summer, if we have quite a mild summer, then again, it's generally okay to send them in a little bit up to maybe June, mid-June, something like that. But if we have a scorching hot summer that starts in early June, then to be honest, think how hot it is outside. And I assure you, Amazon warehouses are hotter than hell.
No, I probably won't be selling chocolates. I mean, if I've already got them there, like I'm not good. But I lost like so much money. I lost like $3,000 because I bought too many. So I did the opposite last year. I bought loads, but the demand wasn't actually there because it was quite a warm summer. I think. Well, there was part where it was really warm.
And demand goes same thing as well. Demand.
And so I actually had to expire like 200 of this, 50 of that, 150. I don't even know what it was. Oh yeah, that's when I sent 500. That's the classic story. I sent 500 boxes of chocolates, different sizes, to my mum in like five like boxes you would send sort of for stock for Amazon. But I sent 5 of those to my mum, for like a present, basically.
Is she still eating them?
Now, if I ever send anything, she goes, "What is it?" She literally will just like take the bag. She basically leave the box in the car and take it somewhere like friends or
yeah.
I think once she like went back to the post office and said, "Do you want to just keep these loads of chocolates in there?" And I just sent 2 boxes to my brother, and I got a text saying, "Oh, Millie and my brother both go, oh yeah, we don't like the marzipan fruits," and there's like 42 of them. I was like, I'll just chuck them all. But I don't know, So maybe I even have that now.
This is the thing, and I know, Luke, you joke about these type of things, but you're a high volume seller, obviously. So
that's 42, and it would have cost me like $4.50 a box. But I kind of just glaze over it and pretend.
Yeah. But I think my point is, you're a high volume seller. You account for losses within your business. Whereas someone who's starting out, or someone that's maybe not done their first summer, they might have joined and started selling in Q4 and had a hell of a time, living their best life selling confectionery during the winter, thinking that that's going to change. Demand, decreases as well. And so
you should be able to tell.
Yeah, I just want to get across that at the end of the day, unless you are a very high volume seller and you are prepared to get negative comments, that you will not be able to get removed. Yes, I know that they are about the product. At the end of the day, they are product reviews, but you will not be able to get them reviewed, or in the majority of them, unless they've not done something right on the automatic removal, you will not be able to get them removed. And it can, worst case scenario, put your account at risk. And compounding that with the fact that Amazon are being the strictest that I have ever seen them being at the moment as well, it's not worth the risk. So if someone tells you, oh, it's fine to sell meltables in the summer, don't. It's not.
Also, now that the voice of the customer is new, I think it came like September. Maybe I'm wrong, but like maybe I made that up.
I think it was in there a bit before that, but yeah, again, that's the.
I think since that's come in and actually started to populate, I'm pretty, only because I never noticed it last year on my Meltables, that if you start getting basically a negative experience on your product, either feedback, normally it will say in there, melted when I arrived, something generic, like you'll just see the same comment, melted when I arrived, melted when it arrived, in bits, whatever it is. Then you'll get your listing basically blocked. You can reactivate it, but if that kept happening, because obviously 20% of your returns are all going to be that, so it kept happening, you would get your listing suspended. I believe that listing suspended. Yeah, I've got that. So I only ever reactivate the listing once, knowing if it's like a general bad luck, like I've had. I don't know, it's something's leaked and now I've got to go back and make sure it doesn't leak, but that's not really the product's fault. It's something's not worked properly, and I'll fix it and I'll reactivate listing and make sure that all the new stock goes in like double bubble wraps if it keeps breaking or something, if it's glass. But obviously if you can't control the meltable side of it, you can reactivate and sell more. But if it does say if this carries on happening, we could basically suspend the listing or something to do with that anyway. But that obviously would.
Yeah, they've removed the listing. They'll remove it, block it, and
that would have an impact on your account. Even last year, I've never seen that because it wasn't really there. But not that I'm not going to act the same as I did last year. This year anyway, I probably won't buy any chocolates. I'll only buy them if they're kind of not obviously chocolate. Maybe if it's got a bit of chocolate attributed to it or something, I may. If it's mostly not, that's probably. I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. But I'm not going to be buying anything that's obviously like a box of chocolates and sending it in.
It depends how the summer goes as well. If it snows all summer, then we're all good. But it's not going to be a great summer by all accounts anyway. My brother's really into weather, and he's got like a weather station and everything like that, and he reckons it's going to be a crap summer. So who knows? Maybe we can send chocolates all through summer. We just have to wait.
Let it in. The only other thing I'm going to start looking at even more is getting back my not expired, but near expired stock. Earlier, knowing if I got 300 of that Terry chocolate orange, I can't sell it. I'm not going to be able to sell them in time unless I lose a lot of money. But you can sell them on to those best before stores. And even if I'm making even if I'm still losing money, I'm not getting zero for it. Like if it's expired, I have to recall that, and that cost of goods of £3, it's gone, the whole thing. If I can make 50p back on that, then I'm basically, I'm only losing 250 over because I'm selling it to them for 50p per unit, and I'll send them 300. Okay, I've got to have a little bit. I've got to send it to them. Okay, minus that, but there's still more money that I'm getting something at least than nothing. And if you're doing, if I did $5,000 last year, $6,000, well, would I do 10 grand this year of expired products, or it may be not all expired, maybe something's gone slightly wrong, but it's fine. Something's or whatever. It got delivered. Even stuff like Ocado delivers stuff really short dated sometimes, and I didn't realise. Whatever it is, but even if I got $2,000 back on the 10 grand worth of stock, well, now that's $2,000 in my pocket that I didn't have last year on the same scenario. Or even starting your own website where you're selling, I don't know, bulk like 20, 30, however you wanted to play it anyway.
Best before dates are essentially, apart from on fresh goods, are just guidelines. And as Simona says, she gave hers to charity, and they told me that they can accept them for up to 3 months after the expiry date. So even if you don't get any money back for them, you can, you can get some good karma if you give them to charities.
There's only so much you can give to your parents. You can't give 1,000 chocolates a year, can you?
Literally, when anyone comes around my house, this is no word of a lie. Nobody leaves my house without something free. It's like, hey, do you want this? This came back from Amazon. I used to
do that with my friends. I live with my mate, and he'll always say, "What you got?" And he had
anyone that says that. I don't have anyone that says that.
So again, 15 trays of Thornton's chocolate. It's always Thornton's chocolate. He had 15 trays in there, and he's like, and I sent him 42. What are they called? Fiber one bars, like the red velvet. And he's like, and I sometimes just send him stuff without him even asking. And he's like, Luke, did you send me 42? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what? Because I know he doesn't want it, but I'm like, I don't want it. So I said, and now I'm just sending people stuff and they don't even ask for it. So it's like they're getting in their hands.
Make sure you save them for Christmas presents. That's what I always do, definitely. Caitlin says she had to remove some chocolates as they said they were expired and the expiry date was 2022. By the way, good tip. Before you do that, before you remove them, get them to check. You can request
a bin check or something.
Pardon?
Is it? I talked to Johnny about this the other day. Is it like a bin? You can basically get them to do a bin check.
I don't know the actual name, but you just ask them to do an investigation for you and a picture to prove that, and they will do that. I mean, how long they'll continue?
And then they can update it again. I saw like a picture of how it works. Actually, I might have a picture somewhere of how that works. I might be able.
If you could post that in the group, that would be really handy, because I don't think a lot of people know that you can do that. You can request that they double check it for you and confirm it to you that it's expired or it's going to expire or there's something wrong with it or a banned ingredient or whatever. You can request that they investigate it further and essentially prove to you that that is the case. Obviously, if you know it has expired, don't do that. Only in cases where you know that it hasn't expired, and that's why it's always really handy to make sure on your, on your inventory sheets that you jot down your expiry dates, so you can potentially fight that as well. So Caitlin always says charities are great options for sending unwanted stock in. I have something I'm in touch with. One of them is in Africa, so their winter is our summer. Perfect. They can take chocolates and donate to their poorer communities, which is great. We do that the same with Easy Prep, where we get returns and things like that, and we always say to people, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to send them back to you, or do you want us to take them down to charity? So once a quarter, we'll run a load of stuff down to, local charities and things like that. Gives you a little bit of a feel good factor as well, definitely. Because only stuff like that is stuff that, is potentially going to help someone else, definitely. If you have contact with charities that send food out to Africa, our summer is winter, so they can go to very underprivileged communities. Yeah, definitely. So maybe if you could pop that in the Secret Wealth Project Facebook group, Caitlin, for anyone that might be interested in helping to donate to that cause, definitely. John says overpriced items are not good for anyone. Amazon either come on the listing or remove the buy box. Absolutely. So when it comes to fair pricing, generally we always say have a look on the listing, see what the maximum price is. Yes, you can go above it, but you might fall foul of the Amazon fair pricing policy, either for suppression of buy box or the new fair pricing notification.
Every morning now I'm going, I wonder but although I'm not doing it so bad now, but I did think it may actually every day there might be, because it reminded me of that suspected intellectual property violation thing that kept happening, where like a couple of days you got hit with a couple of new ones, and because the bots were just like kind of firing away. That's kind of how I felt it was, but I haven't had since that first time. Was it Monday or last? I can't remember what it was. Since that first time that I got 3.
Yeah, I think a week ago, last Monday. If you're going to get notifications and bot warnings, they generally come through on a Monday. And
obviously I've sorted them and I've checked every day now, and it's fine. But I did think it might, because I've got obviously similar kind of products, I guess, with suppression of buy boxes, but it didn't. So who knows? It's something to watch anyway. But these kind of things happen all the time, changes and new little things. I don't even let things even worry me. I basically action it and then sit back and relax and watch the cats and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Watch those cats out the window. You've got nothing better to do, Luke. Definitely. Matthew Cromie, who are you? He says this is a really good point, actually, for those that you don't know. For those that don't know this, they don't actually rotate stock at Amazon by date. So it very well, they don't do it at all. So sometimes we can have expired repaying goods sent back to us that have sold out months before. So we, in the normal world, would be like, oh, okay, if I'm putting expiry date products in, I remove all of the closer ones to the front and then put the other ones at the back. But Amazon don't do that. They just pile them all on top. So all of the expiry date products, especially if they're replens, go to the back. So what will happen is sometimes you will get like a voice of the customer that says out of date product, but it was purchased 2 months ago, or it was purchased 2 weeks ago, but you know that the goods that you've sent in are well within the expiry dates, and that's because they don't rotate the stock. So, which is really annoying.
I was going to say that potentially means that if you created a listing 3 years ago and you always had one unit that was always left, you could have a 3-year-old item or however many years of like something left. Someone's going to open that and it's going to be like rotting or something.
We have, and we've learned to do this now. We have a couple of very good listings that have expired products in them. Not short expiry, they've got relatively long expiry dates, but we learned this the hard way. So what we have to do now is manage our stock inventory so well to the point of we almost prefer to go out of stock for a couple of days as opposed to sending stock in to sit on top of the other stock. Because what we used to do, we used to send 300 more units in whilst we still had 200 units in stock. And then we found with voice of the customer. So, you know, voice of the customer is actually, I know it's a pain in the ass for some people, but that actually works really well for us because we couldn't work it out. And, you know, what was happening with that. And we were like, why are they saying it's out of date? It's well within dates and it's a fast moving item. So therefore, how can it be out of date? And that's, you know, when we figured it out, and someone from Elite Sellers, I can't remember exactly who it was, got it confirmed in writing by Seller Central. Pardon?
I think it was Terry.
Oh, was it Terry? Yeah. Someone got it confirmed in writing from Seller Central that, yes, they don't rotate the stock at all. They'll just pile it all on in. So if you do have fast moving consumable goods, the best thing to do is almost wait for all of your stock completely to go down. And like I said, I mean, through the stuff that we do with unique bundles and private label anyway as well, we know that going out of stock does not have the impact that a couple of years ago that people used to say it had. Yeah, you might get in Amazon's bad books for a couple of days, but generally it's very, very recoverable, and it's better to go out of stock generally than put your prices up if you know that you're going to be restocking your product anywhere for between 7 to 10 days. Something like that. So we don't actually mind going out of stock for a couple of days. It's actually better for us to do that than it is to be stuck with potentially out of date goods that could affect our, you know, CX rate.
The only thing I've thought is it not possible to send in the new stock? The new stock under a new catalog addition.
I don't
know. You know, people say you're not allowed to create two listings, two catalog entries, but I've done it many times by accident where I've got like two of the same products in my inventory. I've accidentally added it previously to one and now it's the new one. So I've got two different SKUs, but the same ASIN, 100 or 50, and I've obviously got to sell out. One of them gets suppressed or whatever, it gets bunged to the back, whatever happens to it, or I just basically close that listing short term. So I closed, and then I'll let the first one sell out, close and delete that because I don't want to, or you don't have to, but you close and delete it and then activate the next one and keep cycling through that way.
Mm-hmm. To be perfectly honest, I mean, like I said, I personally believe the best way is to go out of stock, especially if you know that it's going to go back into stock within a 7 to 10 day period. Amazon really doesn't mind it. There used to be all this stuff years ago about, oh my God, you can't go out of stock. You have to put your price really, really high to stop you going out of stock. But what you've got to look at it from this point of view is when Amazon is so reliant on sales velocity, I nearly said philosophy, velocity, then combining that with everything that we've been through over the last 12 to 18 months with Amazon's fair pricing policy, with price gouging due to COVID, and we know how super sensitive Amazon is about pricing at the moment. Why do we want to artificially inflate our own costs of our own goods, which might potentially cause Amazon to take and suppress our own buy box on our own products, which does happen, guys. They will suppress you on your own private label if they think you're too expensive compared to competitors in your niche. That's another thing you've got to take into account. Whereas it's much better, and at the same time, you've upped your price, therefore you're not as competitive, which means your BSR and your sales velocity slows down. So when eventually you do go back into stock, you lower your price, which Amazon doesn't like because they don't like you to fudge the figures either from that point of view. So it's actually better to go out with a bang. And then what happens is if you sell out at a really fast rate, some people even say, if you know you're going to go out of stock, try and go out on the best possible BSR that you can, the best possible sales rate that you can, because what will happen is then when you go back into stock, Amazon remembers your position and you generally go back into a similar kind of position that you went out on. If you were like number 3 for a particular keyword, you probably wouldn't go back in at number 3, but you'd go back in at like number 6, as opposed to artificially increasing the price of your product and therefore your rankings maybe drop to number 20. It's a no-brainer. But at the same time, you can't do that if you know you're going to be out of stock for a really long period of time. It's probably better to slow it down. We only really advise that people do that if they know that they're going to come into stock quite quickly afterwards, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Matt said there is a way around it if you add a MF SKU for a few days while new stock goes in.
Yeah, this is where me and Matt are, we're husband and wife, obviously, but we do have different ideas. I'm going to slightly disagree with my husband here and say I don't like the MF option purely because, again, it will keep you in stock, but it could potentially artificially increase your BSR and reduce your sales velocity, because obviously the MF offering is generally not as attractive as the FBA offering. So I personally prefer to go out in a blaze of glory, go out in stock, and then try and come back in stock with high levels. And sometimes I'll even intentionally suppress the listing so the stock doesn't go in dribs and drabs. So we might suppress the image or something like that in order to wait until any transfers of stock in between different fulfillment centers, until there's a good level of stock to be able to, start moving again.
Matt said he's been told off now.
He's right on certain SKUs, but definitely the faster moving ones that are very reliant on being FBA products, I'm afraid we're going to have to not agree. Well, we are going to have to agree to disagree. If I knew that I was going out of stock for a longer period of time, I would definitely put an MF option on there. Yeah, 100%, but not 2, 3, 4 days, something like that. Better to go out in the blaze of glory. Definitely. You've just witnessed, I think we've just had our first Chromie business row live on air. Always interesting, definitely. Any other questions, let us know. But I think we've covered a lot tonight, guys. Good to see you all. Like I said, I think at the moment, things are a little bit calmer on the sales side of things. Just keep your cool, guys. Don't let other people affect you. Let other people get on with what they want to be getting on with. And probably if you are experiencing some price dropping and things like that at the moment, especially if you are on any Terry's white chocolate orange listings, then that's probably down to Luke's 700 ones that he's got in stock.
Although you could recall them, melt them down, and you could have some, you could have some fun with that.
If it was me, if it was me, I would recall them and I would do something cool with them. I'd bundle them into something else.
Yeah, yes. I know you wouldn't. I'm just I'll get rid of them. Now I'm just get rid of them. I'm selling 10 a day. I'm oh, okay, it's getting there.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
That's not too good. And it's made me, maybe I'll go ahead. Actually, next lot you can send to me. I love chocolate orange.
Eventually I would have got burnt through everyone to send stuff. So
we can have a secret wealth project. Never mind the buy box chocolate orange giveaway.
Exactly, yeah. Although that's the thing, I can't send anything to myself. So it's not, everything's literally gotta be sent to whoever.
Tom says he'll take them off your hands. Yeah, I don't think you'll have any shortage of offers for sure anyway. But thank you, everyone, tonight. Thanks for joining, as always. It's so much more fun when lots of people are on and we have lots of comments, which we've had tonight. So really, really appreciate that. Thank you, Luke, as ever. It's always enjoyable debate when you're on. Debate?
We haven't debated.
Debate. Oh, there we go. Caitlin, never mind the buy box bake-off.
I actually, do you know what? No, this is going off. We need this to finish. When I had a job, I was the one that organised, and never mind the. No, it wasn't called Never Mind the Buy Box. What's that bake-off thing called? Bake-off. Okay, it's called Bake-Off. Fine.
Great British Bake-Off.
Great British Bake-Off. I organised into it was accounts with some sales competition, and I actually did that. I was the one that organised it. There was bake off. There's 4 people. Then you had to vote, and you had to. That was basically the only skill I had when I had a job, to be honest.
Oh, do you know what? I was wondering, where is this going? Who were you?
Quiz, weekly quiz every Friday. That was something me and my mate basically didn't work. We just created a quiz. and spend 4 hours on a Friday, everyone knew we weren't working. But then everyone in the office started to do it, and I was like, come on, this is like, that was the only good things that I could do, like create things that were non-work related that ended up.
And trying it, just absolutely, you've proved there, I think, you are a true entrepreneur, because most of the entrepreneurs I know, when they have in their job, they do everything they can to try and actually get out of doing the work that they're paid for, because that's generally what entrepreneurs do. They don't want to work for the man. They don't want to do that. So I remember doing something similar in like an insurance company job that I had like many moons ago. I remember, I think it might have started when I was like computers were down or something, and we sat down as a whole office and rated who we thought the top best 100 actors in the world was, or something like that. That's what you do in offices, not actually doing any work.
It was because I just didn't care if I got sacked. I was like,
that's another entrepreneur.
Anyway. This isn't life. I'm just basically I'm like, off there, getting home, sleeping, eating, and repeating. I might be dead soon. So I was like, well, this isn't, there's nothing worse than this anyway. So let's just crack on. Do some
definitely cool another entrepreneur trait, not worrying about getting sacked, for sure. But interesting one tonight, guys. You know the drill. Same time next week, 7 o'clock. I will have someone new with me, and rest assured, I'll make sure midweek I'll get a chocolate cherries orange update on Luke's stock, just to see how it's going, to keep you all keep the fingers on the chocolate orange pulse. But thanks for tonight, guys. Thanks for joining me, Luke. Stay safe, everyone, and have a good week.
See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.